What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for September the 9th of 2019. Of course, for those that are brand new to the show, this is a daily gaming news podcast that aims to keep you up to date and informed on everything happening in the gaming industry. Of course, it is hosted on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media Monday through Friday, then taken down and put up on podcast services around the world, just in case you wanted those audio biscuits instead of the video biscuits. I do like biscuits, but today we are talking about a brand new Nintendo patent filed for some new JoyCons, and they are definitely interesting to say the least, and I would say could be a market improvement on the regular JoyCon design that we have in today's day and age. Then EA has set a brand new world record, and it's not for something positive like most games sold or best reviews ever, something along those lines. Oh no, this is incredibly negative, and man, did it make me laugh. But Gears 5, one of the best games I have ever played from the Xbox catalog, has of course launched over the past weekend with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and those that did buy the Ultimate Edition of the game. But it looks like the game isn't going to be launching in China, at least not right now, because sales have been suspended as there's an issue the coalition is working through. Then, according to Hideo Kojima, Death Stranding is something even he doesn't understand. We'll talk more about that one and try and pick that one apart because, man, that's quite the statement there from Mr. Kojima on the cusp of his game releasing. To be fair, I don't think anybody wants to understand. But BioWare's Casey Hudson says he wants to see Anthem grow, evolve, and thrive for years to come. And let me tell you, that's a quote that I want to understand because I have no idea how anybody expects that game to come back from the brink. Then gamers are showing their frustration on Twitter with issues in NBA 2K20. We will talk more about that because right now, as of the time of recording this podcast, hashtag #FixTwo K20 is trending in the United States on Twitter, which again, this is kind of a breaking story because I don't play the NBA 2K games, so I didn't know this was happening, but apparently this one is hot garbage. So we will talk more about that in just a moment. But finally, for those that partake in the alcoholic beverages, Doom is getting an officially licensed boned vodka, just in case you did want some boned vodka for your weekend. Also, it's very fun to say boned vodka with that little inflection into the microphone. I don't know what's happening. But anyways, if you are brand new to the podcast, I do hope you enjoy. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Nintendo files a weird patent for new Joy-Cons. Hinges appear to deliver better ergonomics, but why? A strange patent application Nintendo filed in Japan has fans guessing at its purpose, even before the necessary speculation of whether it will actually become a peripheral people can buy for the Switch. But there it is, a pair of Joy-Cons with a hinge. And of course, for those watching the video version of the show, you can see right here where essentially the Joy-Con splits apart in a semi-kind of splitting way, where it can remain attached to the inner side of the Nintendo Switch. But there is a definitive split at the analog stick and the face buttons, which I think actually looks pretty comfortable. The hinge flips the upper portion of each Joy-Con, left thumbstick on the left, face buttons on the right downward or away from the user at about a 20 or 30 degree angle. Shown against the natural posture of a hand with its thumb in the stick, this seems to be an ergonomic improvement. There appears to be a second design with the bottom of the controller slightly angled as well for extra ergonomic grippiness. The Joy-Con retains a straight inner railing so that it still attaches to a standard Nintendo Switch unit, and since the dock's housing doesn't extend past the screen's width, that's of no concern for a Switch fitted with a couple of these. Images further down the patent application show that this is a moving hinge with the Joy-Con locking flat for use in its traditional detached two-player way. Connected, I suppose this would be for power users who do want most of their playing handheld time to be a much better grip kind of experience, etc., etc. They make jokes on Polygon, yeah. Commenters in this Reddit thread bring up the fact that Joy-Cons are already so small that a revision doesn't leave much space to do new things. The upcoming Nintendo Switch Lite, whose controllers cannot be separated, had to toss out HD rumble and the infrared motion camera because of the smaller footprint. A hinge might sacrifice some other functionality too. So if it ever comes to market, this could be more of a novelty than a new standard for the Switch's official controllers. Why not? Even at $80 for a set, plenty of folks have multiple Joy-Cons for no reason other than the different colors are appealing. The latest info we have have on new Joy-Con concerns new shades available October 4th for a total of 11 official colors. There is also a matter of Joy-Con drift, which Nintendo is quietly offering a fix for free for, but one presumes that whatever causes the phantom input would be addressed in these new designs. And so again, let's return to the image as we see it. To be quite frank, I like this design because I do think it looks to be a more ergonomic approach, and also it makes it entirely optional. You don't have to use the hinge whatsoever. You can just use the Joy-Cons as you traditionally would, or use the ones that are included in the packaging. Now, the big issue that I see here is that this kind of differentiates the Nintendo Switch Lite from the mainline Nintendo Switch, which, to be fair, may be what Nintendo is trying to do here, to continue to push sales of the main piece of hardware. But on top of that, we also have the rumor of a brand new Nintendo Switch coming sometime next year to compete with Project Scarlet and whatever is going to be coming next from PlayStation. So maybe if there was a Nintendo Switch Pro, this could be the style of Joy-Con we see introduced into that specific iteration of Nintendo's newest piece of hardware. But definitely an interesting design. I think there's a lot of innovation here, and that's one thing that has always impressed me about Nintendo, is that even when you think they have pushed whatever kind of new concept they have come up with to its limits, they continue to innovate more and more. And in a way, it's almost like that really late in its generation Wii Mini. It was like this little small red box that pretty much took out all online functionality, but did just package the basic Wii experience up in this nice little bundle, and it was a fantastic move, I think. I love that console, and Nintendo has always been fantastic at designing products that really are just, number one, aesthetically appealing, but also relatively sensible when it comes to how they actually function in everyday use. But if you did want a brand new set of Joy-Cons, of course, plenty are available. But if you want some that split apart between the face buttons and the analog sticks, well, that one could be coming at some point down the line. But next up, EA has broken a Guinness World Record for the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. Back in 2017, EA was dealing with the mess that was Star Wars Battlefront 2 and its hated loot boxes. During that time, an unknown community manager used the official EA community team Reddit account to respond to a complaint about unlocking characters. Over 600,000 downloads, and 2 years later, EA's infamous comment has officially earned a Guinness World Record. The record was spotted by Reddit user Amasha, who posted a photo from the Guinness World Record book for 2020 showcasing the record on the Star Wars subreddit, and the post has racked up over 80,000 upvotes. The comment was posted on November 12, 2017 to the Star Wars Battlefront subreddit, and the comment is posted in full below. Let's go ahead and take a trip down memory lane, shall we? Quote, "The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we are looking at average per-player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we will be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can." All in all, not too bad of a community manager canned response kind of thing, but considering the context where fans were furious, might not have been the best option. Since being posted, it has accumulated 683,000 downvotes. This comment is hated on a scale that no other comment in Reddit history has reached, and the second most downvoted comment in comparison only has 88,906 downvotes. And if you create a free account, you can look up every record on the Guinness World Records website and find the EA record listed under most downvoted comment on Reddit, which all in all is pretty impressive. So I guess congratulations, EA. I highly doubt they will be celebrating this record anytime soon, but yet they are still in the book. Now, this was absolutely apocalyptic when it comes to the video game releases because Star Wars Battlefront 2 had so much going for it. There was so much positive momentum behind the game because it looked so beautiful, still looks beautiful to this day. And on top of that, the gameplay itself was tight. I specifically remember whenever I first joined up on, I believe it might have even been the open beta, the shooting was incredibly tight just on the Hoth little canned portion of the map where you could just kind of wait for the game to load onto your console or your PC. It was gorgeous. It played very well. But then these microtransactions came in and completely devastated the first, I would say, 6 months of the game's life. And once you miss that golden opportunity to make a positive impact on the community, you've pretty much missed a huge mark. And even with Star Wars Battlefront 2 being one of the biggest games of 2017, it never could truly recover. Now, I did see a story a couple of weeks back where many of the developers still think about what would have happened if they hadn't messed up on the microtransaction side of things, because Star Wars Battlefront 2 very well could still be a giant Goliath in 2019. That being said, people still play the game, people still are dedicated to the game, but not on the scale that it could have been if this had been avoided entirely. But hey, then you wouldn't have received a Guinness World Record, right? Right. Yeah. Either way, it's all in the books now, so to speak. It's all in the books now. However, moving on, Gears 5 is a fantastic game. First off, I do have to gush for a moment. I got Game Pass Ultimate last Thursday, and I loaded this puppy up, and I wanted to play Gears 5 because I haven't really gone into a Gears game in quite some time and really just sat down and played the game. So I was like, hey, that's what I'm doing this weekend. So I loaded up the game on my PC, sat down to play it. This game is phenomenal. Now, it's not God of War level of phenomenal, but by far, this is the best Xbox game that I have played this generation, by far. The Coalition has outdone themselves. You should highly check out Gears 5 if you do get the chance. However, with that being said, Gears 5 does not look to be launching in China, at least not right now, because sales have been suspended on Steam. The Coalition said a, quote, specific issue is preventing access to the game, so it's halted sales and postponed the launch. Gears 5 is set to come out on September the 9th, but it appears that gamers in China may have to wait a while to get their hands on it. A message posted on Steam by community support manager TC Octus says that an unspecified program has forced the developer to suspend all sales and the game's launch in that country. Quote, there is a specific issue with the Gears 5 release in China preventing people from accessing the complete game. Unfortunately, this issue means we have to suspend future sales and pre-orders as well as the game's release in China at this time, it says. We are investigating and will provide an update once we have more information. We appreciate your understanding. There is no indication as to what the issue might be, but it appears to be unrelated to server issues that some players were experiencing yesterday when the game went live for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. TC Octus told Twitter followers numerous times that issues with matchmaking and missing content are the result of overloaded servers, which developers are getting straightened out. But the Steam version isn't live yet, and recent comments on the delay pretty strongly suggest that nothing more has been said about it since the initial announcement. Releasing games in China can be a dicey proposition. Censorship is an issue, but so is uncertainty. Steam is unsanctioned by Chinese authorities, but remains available and widely used, even though nobody seems to know exactly why. Potentially throwing things into even further disarray, Valve is working with Perfect World to launch Steam China, which will be officially approved and operate almost entirely independent of Steam elsewhere in the world. Now, Andy Chalk has reached out to Microsoft to inquire about the delay, but no update has been given on the PC Gamer article. However, I think this is 100% a censorship issue. Now, I have nothing to go on with that inclination, but considering the nature of Gears 5, the incredibly gory, rip people in half with a chainsaw attached to an assault rifle kind of gore, it just doesn't seem to be quite lining up with the Chinese kind of outstanding moral, etc. expectation, I suppose would be the correct word to use there. Something along those lines. But Gears 5 is gory, bloody, monsters are disgusting, the blood is fantastic and gross at the same time. I love everything about it, but the Chinese government probably doesn't, so that might be the issue they are running into there. I can't imagine it being something technical. Again, it is just a generally unspecified problem that is holding the game back. No definitive technical or moral definition as to what it actually is that is holding up the game, but at the same time, something's holding it up. So if you are a player in China, it looks like you are not going to be getting your hands on Gears 5, at least in the coming months, maybe weeks, on the Steam marketplace. But again, if you do want to, and you are able to, access Gears 5, it's out this week, technically last week, but also this week on Xbox and PC via the Xbox app or on Steam if you are in the States or other spots around the world outside of China. However, Death Stranding is also coming up soon, and Kojima says, even now, I don't understand the game. Yes, ladies and gents, that's a direct quote. Death Stranding's own creator says he doesn't understand the game. Speaking to the Financial Times video game tour, Hideo Kojima admitted even he can't quite comprehend his upcoming title, a star-studded action game where the focus is connection rather than destruction. Death Stranding, even now I don't understand the game, said Kojima of the PlayStation 4 release. Its worldview, gameplay, they're all new. My mission is to create a genre that does not currently exist and which takes everyone by surprise. There is naturally a risk in that. The story of Death Stranding has been teased out over the past year, trailer by surreal trailer. In the most recent one, released by Kojima Studios, fans were introduced to a breastfeeding invisible baby born in the afterlife, but attached to its mother through a floating invisible umbilical cord. Yeah. Kojima theorizes that video games are shown in some ways the ultimate expression of craftsmanship. While he has famously been a proponent of cinematic games, he describes what he does not in terms of art, but rather as a craft service. Something more in line with a sushi master, someone who creates beautiful dishes, but whose goal is ultimately nourishment. There are stories being told in cinema that my generation may find surprising, but which the gamer generation doesn't find weird at all, he says, of the distinction between art of both industries. If you take something that looks like a banana and give it the title apple, that works as art. But it doesn't apply to games. We are making things that are interactive. A banana has to be edible after you peel the skin. Cars have to be drivable. For games to be interactive and to deliver the enjoyment, there has to be a reality where there are lots of people backstage making it all happen. That is us, a kind of art-driven service industry. Death Stranding will release November the 8th. And so this, for me, now I don't know how you guys interpret this, but it's a bit comforting. And I'll tell you why. Because whenever I'm looking at the trailers for Death Stranding and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my god, what is happening? I have never seen anything like this before in my life, and to be quite honest, I'm quite a bit disturbed, and I think this game might be too complex for my small pea brain. That's the thought process behind my interpretation of Death Stranding, but whenever Kojima, the man that created the game, comes out and says, hey, I don't even know what's happening, that makes it feel more approachable. That makes it feel like something that I can dive into and say, well, who cares if we understand it or not? Let's just see what's happening here. Now, by and large, this one is going to be a rent from me. Let me make that one very clear. Redbox, you're going to be making some money on this release because I would never go out and pick this one up. And some people will say, oh, but Sam, that's art. You should support the art. It's a game. I'm not made of money, and I'm not sure I'm going to be playing this any more than 10 minutes. Let's be very frank about this. But my personal opinions to the side, Death Stranding is set to be one of the biggest releases, not only of 2019, but potentially of this entire generation, because Hideo Kojima is basically worshipped in the gaming industry for being innovative, for being one of the most beautiful minds that gaming has ever had at its disposal. And so, of course, if you do want to dive into Death Stranding, coming out November the 8th as a PlayStation 4 console exclusive, hopefully coming to the PC at some point in the future. But man, this one is going to be interesting. And even Hideo Kojima doesn't understand what's happening. However, you want to know something else I don't understand, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening. BioWare's Casey Hudson says he wants to see Anthem, quote, grow, evolve, and thrive for years to come. Oh man, Anthem isn't dead, but BioWare admits it has a lot more work to do. Anthem, in spite of everything, is far from dead, at least according to BioWare General Manager Casey Hudson, who reaffirmed the studio's support for the game despite its troubled launch, dwindling player base, and heavily delayed roadmap. Writing in his September update blog on the BioWare website, Hudson offered more behind-the-scenes info on a bunch of games in development at the studio, including Dragon Age 4 and another mystery project, but began the post with an optimistic statement regarding Anthem's future. We have a big team working on Anthem in both Austin and Edmonton, and while it has been great to see the community response to Cataclysm, I know there is a lot more work to do to bring out the full potential of the game, writes Hudson, admitting that, quote, we have plans for those more fundamental improvements, but they'll take time. While the team works towards the longer-term version of the game, they will also continue to deliver updates to features and content. I believe in Anthem and would love to see its world grow, evolve, and thrive for years to come. Now, Hudson stating that he would love to see Anthem grow and evolve is very different to promising that BioWare is committed to seeing the game prosper, as it's angled as more of a tentative hope than a firm mission statement, but it's nonetheless confiding to hear some form of response on the game after months of radio silence from the studio. In his final remark, Hudson teases that, quote, when I look at all of the things going on around BioWare, I'm more excited about our future than ever. Hopefully the studio's fans will soon be able to see and say the same thing after the poor taste of Anthem has faded. This is not going to go over well, let me tell you that right now. I don't believe Anthem is ever going to grow past what it currently is. And I do want to point out, right here in the quote, it's been great to see the community response to Cataclysm. I'm not in the Anthem community. I don't dive into the Reddit post. I don't really get into that small, very minute, micro niche of the gaming industry that is the Anthem community. But I didn't hear anybody talking about Cataclysm. Even the news outlets, the big video game promotional news outlets, said minimal about Cataclysm when it came out. I just don't see any hype for the game whatsoever, and I quite frankly think that it's time to, cut your ties and move on. Now, I believe that I saw on Twitter, BioWare moved into a new studio. There is a brand new space that people are working in, if I remember correctly. Of course, if I'm incorrect, somebody can correct me in the comment section down below, or you can always hit me up on Twitter and say, hey, you're wrong. But overall, I think that it's time to, as I said, sever the ties with Anthem and move on to whatever is coming next. Because, quite frankly, the ship has sailed. Destiny 2 is rising quickly with the release of New Light, and Shadowkeep coming very, very soon with the release of brand new features such as cross-save, stuff along those lines coming to Destiny 2 with Stadia on the horizon and Destiny 2 being pretty much the game to play on that. The looter-shooter space is beginning to kind of shrink up, and for Anthem to come in and be any kind of amateur, whenever it comes to that kind of game, it's just too late for that kind of thing. Now, if Anthem had come out and dominated, we could be seeing a completely different industry going forward. That's a topic for a different day. But man, does not look too good. But you know what else doesn't look too good? NBA 2K, because gamers are showing their frustration at issues in NBA 2K. Now, this is something that is trending on Twitter right now, and I did want to kind of riff on it for just a moment. If you are wanting to pick up NBA 2K20, you might want to wait, because I see stuff like Julio Lopez at Backy_ on Twitter saying that his progress is not even being shown off in the game recap. On top of that, you're getting errors like 079D6CDC from Shabuti on Twitter, a verified user who I'm unfamiliar with, but I'm sure is significant in some kind of way. Then we have that New Orleans voodoo, which is clearly a glitch in the game where the ball is not touching any hand whatsoever and kind of floats around the player before making contact yet again, like a small moon orbiting a planet. Overall, the game looks to be pretty much hot garbage at this point, not looking so hot when it comes to the overall fidelity of the game. And, I mean, NBA has always been one of those game franchises, specifically live, that has had a plethora of issues, but when it comes to NBA 2K, I kind of expect more. When it really comes down to it, I don't like seeing these kind of issues when it comes to, big games like this, where this is one of those franchises where some people go out and buy this specific game, and this is the game they buy for that entire year. You can't really be releasing a really bad game whenever that's the situation. Of course, no game should be released in a poor state, but specifically a game that is as big as NBA 2K20. I mean, this isn't an indie game, guys. Come on, you've got to do a little bit better than this. But if you did want to dive in and check out NBA 2K, you might want to wait for a while before you do give it a try. But in another kind of maybe limelight, if you will, a different light, rather, you could be seeing better sales of NBA Live when it comes out in a couple of months, because I know it was delayed past the start of the basketball season, and so it was kind of a shocker, but that could have been an underlying big win for the guys behind Live. Could we be seeing a flip from NBA 2K being the winner to NBA Live being the winner? We very well could. But hey, you know what the developers of NBA 2K are probably doing right now? They're probably wallowing, drinking Doom Bone Vodka. It's real vodka made with bones from hell. Okay, that last part's not real, but still. I've seen a lot of cross-promotional stuff for video games in my time, some good and some not so much. Remember when EA partnered with real-world weapon manufacturers to promote the Medal of Honor reboot, and some of it, like for instance Doom Bone Vodka, is just downright weird. It's real though, as Bethesda UK confirmed on Twitter. That's right, we've teamed up with Rebel Distillers. I had to sound out that merged together, tag thing, to create Doom Bone Vodka. For more info, you can go to doom.vodka. Nice. First things first, what exactly is bone vodka? According to the spirits business, Morrow is extracted from beef bones that have been roasted and smoked and is macerated in a neutral grain alcohol. You had some southern in there, neutral. But it's then distilled at a low temperature in a vacuum still, resulting in a dry, earthy start and umami and buttery feel on the tongue, and a finish that's smoky and peppery. Yum. The Rebel Distillers, the company making the Bone Vodka, describes the drink as a world-first vodka using bones sourced from world-famous butchers, the Ginger Pig. We are tapping into one of the world's favorite hobbies, video games, to offer a unique perspective in spirit production, Rebel Distillers co-founder Matt McGirvin said. Doom Eternal is a world of flames and demons, a barbecue pit with action. A smoked bone vodka is certainly a new take on Spear and Providence. This actually isn't the first time Bethesda has licensed one of its games for a booze tie-in. Fallout 76 got its own promotional alcohol, Nuka Dark Rum, last year. Unfortunately, as detailed by Paste, it wasn't very good. The bottle was a lightweight plastic with a dull monochrome label, and the rum itself peters out into a weak coconut caramel flavor that leaves a film on the lips when drank straight. Apparently, it wasn't much better mixed. But if that doesn't put you off, these 700 milliliter bottles, about 24 ounces, go for about $55 each and are now available for pre-order, but currently only in the UK, EU, and Australia. They are expected to begin shipping near the end of September, just in time for the release of Doom Eternal on November the 22nd. And so we have this Bone Vodka, which again I think is a pretty cool, piece of merchandise here. You get your t-shirts, you get your keychains, you get your lanyards, stuff that you pick up from GameStop. But there's a small market that I would say wants stuff that's a little bit more adult-centric, that wants stuff that's a bit more complex, a bit more sophisticated, if you will. And what's more sophisticated than a fantastic, thing of vodka. So if you want to try Doom Bone Vodka, then you can pre-order it right now, again, in the UK, the EU, and, of course, Australia. Hopefully coming to the States at some point, but you might want to temper your expectations considering the rum that was released with Fallout 76. However, if the quality of the game correlates with the quality of the alcohol, I would say Doom Eternal is going to be a much better alcohol providence and alcohol route as compared to Fallout 76, because again, Fallout 76 was hot garbage and so was the rum, so maybe Doom Eternal will be fantastic and the booze will be equally as good. But with that being said, that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, thank you for taking the time to check it out, and I do hope you click that subscribe button below the YouTube video or on podcast feeds if you do want the audio version of the show. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. I will talk to you soon, and peace.